Good afternoon. Happy Wednesday. Happy day after tax day. Woo! We all survived. We made it. We are here. I hope you guys are doing amazing. Today, we are going to be talking about strategies for scaling your ad budget. Because to me, lead generation is one of the most important things that you can do with your business. And so we need to come up with a strategy to help you scale and have a systematic approach to actually scaling your lead generation. So we're going to hop in here. We're going to go through, and if you have any questions at any time, throw them into the chat. If you're hanging out with me today, give me a hi. Let me know where you're hanging out from. Love to hear from you guys. Love to know what you're up to, and appreciate you guys spending your afternoon with me for a little bit as we help you grow your business. So let's jump in. First off, introduction, danger zone. Here's what you want to avoid. Scaling ads without a plan equals burning money fast. Those of you guys who have been hanging out with me often know that I've got a lot of mantras. One of them that I live by, very honestly, is if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. If you're going to be generating leads, if you're going to be spending money on lead generation, you have got to have a strategy. If you do not have a plan, you're just going to start throwing money at whatever you feel like and hope that it produces something. And that's not what we want. We want you actually out there generating revenue, being smart with your investments, and figuring out strategies to really help you scale up your ad spend. Next, we're going to be looking at a strategic path. Scalable lead generation is a long-term strategy, not a lucky guess. Now, a lucky guess can happen and it can lead to strategic paths. But the first thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that you have a strategy behind your lead generation. And then lastly, control and confidence. I'm going to show you how to scale with data-driven decisions. This isn't about, oh, let's put together some stuff, let's throw some stuff against the wall and see how it sticks. These are going to be data-driven decisions for scaling your ads. All right, let's hop into the meat and potatoes. The foundation, before you start even thinking about scaling, before you think about, like, am I going to dump more money into an ad campaign? What am I going to do? Now, this isn't calculating your first one, but this actually has to do with your growth. So assume that you're just getting out there and going. Here's the foundation of what you want to be monitoring for your ad campaigns. Top, return on ad spend, ROAS. How much money are you earning per dollar that you are spending? So if you spend $100 and you make $1,000, you need to be able to know that you've got 100% return. Beautiful. Maybe it's 10%. I don't know the math off the top of my head. But what is your return on your ad spend? How much are you making back? To come up with that, there's things that you're going to need. You're going to need these other ones. So cost per acquisition. Cost per acquisition. This number is a good one because when you start diving into cost per acquisition, you're looking at how much am I spending on the actual generation of the lead, and not just your lead. But you can see down here, we're going to jump into cost per lead, but you're going to be looking at your cost per lead, and then you're going to be looking at your sales. Like, what's my closing? What's my conversion rate down here? So your conversion rate and your cost per lead is going to help you understand your cost per acquisition. Once you know your conversion rate, your cost per lead, and your cost per acquisition, that's how you end up with your return on ad spend. So basically, what you're going to be watching is, like, how many deals am I closing from my ads? What's my cost per lead? How much am I spending per lead? Then what's my cost per acquisition? Your cost, and what you're going to notice is your cost per lead and your cost per acquisition are going to be different. Why? Because you're not going to close every lead that comes to you. I wish it were true, but it's not. Like, every lead that hits your pipeline, it may take you 4, 5, 6, maybe even 10 leads to close a deal. So let's do a little bit of simple math. If you are spending, let's say you are spending $10 per lead, it costs you $10 to acquire the quality lead that you're looking for. Now you know your cost per lead is $10. If it takes you 10 calls to make one sale, your cost per acquisition is $100. Now, if you want to get more in depth on this, the other thing that you can look at, and this actually starts to fall on your tracking outside of outside of your marketing budget. This actually gets into your operational spending, but then you can start calculating what your commission is for your salesperson. Because honestly, without a salesperson there, you're not acquiring the client. So that is something else that you want to look at. But for your marketing, for scaling purposes, you want to assume this is my cost before any company costs for salespeople, commission, anything like that. Now, this same formula is going to work great if you're running a JV. It's going to work if you're working with affiliates. Like this is the formula, because this is going to scale. This is going to be what you're going to be able to measure for your scalability. So again, your conversion rate, how much is it from lead to customer? Your cost per, or how many leads does it take to equal a customer? How much are you paying for each lead? How much does it cost for your acquisition? And then you look at what's the overall I'm spending. You can't scale what you can't measure. If you can't measure how much you're spending, how much it costs you to be able to produce that, you're not going to be able to know that if you start with $1,000 a month ad budget and you bump it up to 10,000, you're not going to know what that's actually going to produce for you until you have all this in mind. Now, the key to this is this little small text at the bottom. Start with consistent results from small spend. Don't ever jump out and say, I'm going to spend $10,000 a month on my first ad campaign. Start small. Start $5, $10 a day, 15, 20, something that is manageable, like keeping it around or under that $1,000 mark. It's a great testing area. And as you get into your lead generation, as you get into running ads and scaling this, having that small test campaign that you're able to get out there is going to help you to develop these numbers so you'll know what to spend your money on. Now, when you get into the scaling side, there's going to be two different paths to scaling. Vertical is up and down, horizontal is left and right. So vertical scaling is this. Vertical scaling's up and down. Increase ad spend on winning campaigns. Keep your creative targeting and the funnel the same. Very straightforward. If you have an ad that's working, you have a funnel that's working, you know that it's working, you know that you're making money. Vertical scaling really just means that you're going to spend up, meaning that you're just going to dump more money into that campaign to produce more results. Horizontal scaling, on the other hand, is different. Horizontal scaling is when you start getting into split testing. This is going to duplicate winners to new audiences or locations, test new placements like stories, reels, and messenger, maybe testing different platforms, using the same thing, using the same budget. What you're doing is you're figuring out, okay, at this budget, how can I maximize what I'm doing? How can I maximize and get the most return for the amount of money that I'm spending? So vertical scaling is saying this is working. Let's get more leads. You just vertically increase your ad budget and go from there. Horizontal scaling is saying it's working, but I want it to be able to work better. And this is where you're going to be split testing and running different campaigns, different strategies, testing different platforms. You're split testing on your landing page. All that's going to fall under your horizontal scaling. All right. Let's dive into vertical scaling. Vertical scaling, you want to do it safely. A big thing, I've been guilty of this. That's why it's in here. A big thing that is a big no-no. If you see that something's working, like let's say you start on $1,000 a month ad budget, and it starts performing really well. Let's say you're getting like $2 leads, you're getting $5 leads, and like you're happy, you're closing deals. And you're like, man, I'm killing it. I'm just going to throw $10,000 at this. Not going to work. Why? The platforms do not like a drastic jump. And part of the reason that they don't like a drastic jump is this. Let's see if I can explain it. Let's see if I can explain it in a way that makes sense, because my brain understands it. Now I'm working on the communication side. So when you start running ads, there are several different factors like geographic location. Where are they located? Is it in a city? Is it in the suburbs? Is it rural areas? Then it's looking at demographic information, like is it a male? Is it a female? Like you've got all these different variables. And then it's looking at like buyer intent. They're looking at all of these different factors that you can target by. By rapidly throwing money at that budget, it does not give the platforms or the algorithm the ability to watch what is performing best. Meaning that, like, let's say it's purely geographical, and everything that's converting is converting out from like a rural standpoint. Because, like, let's say you're selling tractors, and or you're doing financing for tractors. Like, obviously, you're not going to go to Los Angeles and target everybody in Los Angeles as selling tractors. There's no farmland in Los Angeles. But you start focusing on these rural areas. The ad budget's not going to know that. The platform's not going to know that until it starts putting people into those specific demographics or those segments of what you're looking for. Then it's going to know, okay, if we're going to increase the ad budget, now we're going to allocate it towards these certain key points, which are attracting the people. But you can't do that instantly, because basically what's going to happen is it's going to take all of it and then just rise it all up. And I've seen it work, but it doesn't work effectively, and it doesn't work safely, because now your ROAS, your return on ad spend, is going to tank, because you're spending money in different areas that aren't vetted. When you increase your budget gradually, what's happening is that it's testing out all of these different areas, going, okay, you know what? If you go from $1,000 to $2,000, okay, and it recommend follow the 20 to 30% rule. Increase budget by no more than 20 to 30% every day. So let's say you do $300. Okay, take it from $1,000 to $1,300. Now what it's doing is taking that extra $300 and it starts playing around in all of these different areas, all of these different metrics that are defining your target audience, and figuring out which ones are the most effective. Then it's testing that over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. Once that testing's done, now you can increase it again, and it's going to know better where to allocate that additional money to be able to produce better results for you. Because if you're just going out and just dumping all this money into it, it's assuming that you're completely happy. But not only that, but you may not have the targeting. You may not actually have the audience that meets that demographic to fulfill that. So if you do that, you could end up spending thousands of dollars and not getting a whole lot more return. So increase your budget gradually. Take your time. Not only that, but ad platforms, until you have an established relationship with them, are going to look at it and think that you're almost running a scam, because you start on $1,000 and all of a sudden you're bumping it up, giving it 1,000% increase, jumping up to $1,000. They're looking at this like it's not a proven campaign, not proven metrics. So increase your budget gradually. Next, monitor your key metrics. You notice how we kind of have a recurring theme here of tracking and watching your metrics. Watch if your ROA, your return on ad spend, remains stable. Check if your cost per leads are increasing as well. These are going to be your watchdog metrics that you want to keep in mind. If you see that your ROAS is remaining stable, if you see that your cost per leads are staying pretty close to the same, there's always going to be some fluctuation. But if you see that it's staying close to the same, you know that you're on the right path. And it gives you that peace of mind of knowing, okay, we can start increasing our budget from here. And then you want to leverage platform tools. Use campaign budget optimization to let platforms allocate spend efficiently. I've had this question multiple times, like when you're optimizing your campaign, when you're getting in there on the platforms and you get into targeting, AI targeting is by far the best, hands down. Like I've played around with all of them, especially like you start getting on Meta, their AI targeting is just magnificent. They do a great job with their AI targeting. So don't be afraid of using the AI in that. Let the platform do what the platform does, especially if you're not just totally in sync with it, locked in, know what it should be doing, where you want it to go, or if you just don't have the time, let the AI do it. If the AI is smarter than you in this, let it do its job. Let it do what it's supposed to do. But use your campaign budget optimization to let the platform spend efficiently. These are 3 of the points for vertical scaling. Do it safe. Oh, hold on. I think I just messed something up. Sorry. Clicking the wrong buttons here. All right, horizontal scaling. Let's talk about optimization. Go broad smartly. So does that mean you would feel that TV ads are a waste of ad dollars because the audience is too broad and the ad time is expensive? Oh, that is a great question. Um, do I feel that TV ads are really going to depend on, well, there's a couple things. TV ads are really going to depend on um, what channels they're working on. So basically, like if I was to run TV ads, it's not going to work because my target audience are going to be entrepreneurs, are going to be business owners. Business owners aren't watching TV. They're not on late night infomercials. But if you have something that's a little more generic or something that's hitting that target audience, that's where it's going to be. And here's the thing: I don't think that TV ads are actually a broad audience. I think that TV ads are an incredibly narrow audience because I don't watch TV. I don't even know how to turn on an antenna channel on my TV any longer. And you start looking at Generation X, Millennials, Z, especially Z, you get into Gen Z, Gen A, like they have no concept of like antenna TVs. So a lot of this is going to be watching like what channels, what stations. Then on that other side, when you're looking at that, you also have to keep in mind, like if you're looking at running ads on one of the streaming platforms like Max or Hulu, a place like that, it is going to be a very generic audience. So it doesn't mean, I'm not saying that running TV ads are a waste of ad dollars. I think that it's something you want to be careful with because if you're specifically targeting to get leads that are going to close, yeah, TV ads are. I would classify TV ads more as a brand campaign, meaning that if I want to do a saturation where people go, oh, I know Profit Lifter, I've seen them on TV, they've got to be legit. I would run TV ads for brand campaigns. If I want to develop specific leads, you're going to have a better lead conversion based on going directly on different platforms. Hope that answers your question. That was a great question. All right, horizontal scaling. Go broad smartly. First, new audience segments. Target different demographics with proven winners. If you're testing demographics, if you're testing different types of buyers, different buyer personas, test out different things. You may start, like if you're in the business to business space, you may start with entrepreneurs, and then you may realize, okay, everybody who calls themselves an entrepreneur aren't entrepreneurs. It's a very small segment that I believe actually are entrepreneurs, but that's a different conversation for a different day. But you may want to narrow that down. You may want to target. You may want to, like what we're recommending here is you split test. You split test your demographics to find the winner. Once you find that winner, that's when you can start segmenting and saying, okay, we want to add this. Now you're getting better conversions based off of that. Next, you want to look at different locations, expand geographically to reach untapped markets. Again, this is going to depend on your product, exactly what your pitch are, but these are areas that you want to consider with this. New platforms, take winning ads to different networks or placements. This is going to be a shameless plug here, but I will tell you that this is one of my favorites. Why? Because when you're using Profit Lifter's AI ad platform, you've got a bunch of different platforms that you can run ads on almost instantly, meaning that if you start with Meta and it's doing really well and you're happy with it, flip that campaign over to Google, flip that campaign over to LinkedIn, flip it over to all of them. Like this is one of the smartest ways is that if you know that your platform is performing the way that you want it to perform, take the ads to different platforms and start testing them out there. Then test then branches, starting with some, and when it says test then branches, this is an if then scenario. And this is where you get into, this is where you start testing out your landing page. Start with copy, creative before trying variations. Find what's working and then test out variations at different points. And if you have questions, we did a whole segment on, we did a whole session 2 weeks ago on split testing and how that works. And honestly, I got last week's and this week's live streams mixed up because these were supposed to be back to back. So sorry about that. We got a response on the TV ads here. Let's see. What if you buy time on a stock exchange monitoring channels like Bloomberg or one of the other business news channels? Great idea. Makes complete sense. And that's where that and Li, what you're referring to here actually has to do with this would actually focus on like looking at your different locations. This is going to be this is going to be where that's going to pull in. Wow, is it really that easy? Yeah, it really is that easy on the Profit Lifter platform. That's why we have the AI ad platform there. It's not our software; it's third-party software that we white label. But I love it because it does give you that ability to run ads on multiple platforms, all from one place, making it super easy. But what you're talking about with buying ads for stock exchange, that's actually really smart if you're in the business to business space, because these are going to be more business owners. These are going to be people who are more sophisticated in that area, and that's just targeting for channels. That's really just finding your demographic. It's not a bad thing. But again, if I'm watching, I'll share behind the screens with Keith here. My ADHD, my squirrels go crazy if there's not background sound happening. And sometimes I don't want music. And so I'll turn on CNBC and I'll just have it playing in the background. If I see a commercial, it may pique my interest. I go, oh, that's really cool. I kind of like that. But I'm not going to take action while I'm working because I'm locked into doing something else. And so again, this is where like you need to understand the different platforms and what they're doing. If you're looking at something with this huge broad reach, like TV ads or being on CNBC, stuff like this, this is where you're going to have this is where you want to set up your campaign to cater to that platform. So, for example, if I was going to CNBC or Bloomberg, something like that, I would just be running a branding campaign, being like Profit Lifter, best way to build your brand, get leads, and close sales, and just brand Profit Lifter. You need to lift your profits. Profit Lifter is that, branding the company name in their mind. So that way, when they walk away, they're like, oh, who's this Profit Lifter? I need, and like in the middle of something, they're going to think about it. That's the intent of a brand campaign, opposed to if I'm running like a Google ad, I'm targeting based off their search history. And so with that, I'm going to speak directly to what I'm targeting. So if I'm targeting websites, building a new website, I'm not going to go out there and say, oh, buy leads. I'm going to go out there and say, hey, here's the websites that we have to offer, fully automated websites. So part of it is understanding where the reach is for your platform. Another example of this that I think is to put it in perspective in the digital marketing space is actually going to fall like opposed to running ads to Facebook, opposed to LinkedIn. If I'm selling baseball bats and like I'm let's say I'm creating baseball bats and I'm selling them around here. I'm not going to sell baseball bats on LinkedIn. I'm going to dominate on Instagram and Meta. But LinkedIn is going to be professionals. They're not going to care about baseball bats near as much as people are going to care about them on Facebook. So understanding your different platforms, understanding where those people are basically living is a very important key to this. Because if I log on to LinkedIn and I see an ad for something that is not directly related to business, I'm more than likely going to scroll by it. Opposed to if I'm on Facebook, Facebook's my personal playground. I'm going to go in, explore it. And same thing with all of them. So keep that in mind, understanding your platforms and kind of targeting them. Wouldn't you want to lead them to your landing page and the TV ad? No, actually, with the TV ad, I would not actually want to lead them to a landing page because you're going to miss the opportunities. With a TV ad, I would actually drive them to a DID number. A phone number to call, a direct dial-in number. With that DID number, now I'm going to be able to route it and be able to distribute it to my sales team based off of the inbound call. Also, at that same point, if I'm running TV ads, I'm going to have setters or basically a call center right there that's going to be taking those calls and vetting the calls before they hand them to my sales team, because I don't want my sales team talking to people who aren't vetted, who aren't qualified. So like with the TV ad space, I'd be running those to a call center, having them vet them, then doing live call transfers based off those DID numbers that we're collecting for them to be able to filter those filter the real leads, the vetted leads, over to my sales team from there. All right. So yeah, that's horizontal scaling. Man, you guys are taking me on rabbit trails and I'm loving it. Keep throwing in the comments, keep throwing things in. You guys are awesome. I love the feedback, love the questions, love being able to help you out on that. All right. Creative optimization. Keep it fresh. Combat ad fatigue. Listen, you may come up with a winning ad strategy that just dominates, and you're killing it. You're making good money on. You're getting a good return on your investment. Your closing rates look great, but over time, your ads are always going to it's going to start to fall off because your target audience has already seen it, and there's only a limited number of people who are going to see it. So what you're going to be looking for, what you want to keep in mind is ad fatigue. Even great ads fade with time. Regularly refresh to maintain performance. Come up with different things. Now, let's go on a tirade here. I'm going to stand on my soapbox because I've said this a million times. I'm going to say it a million more. If you are not doing marketing to your list, and when I say marketing, I'm not saying, oh, we got our automated email campaigns. Automated email campaigns are essential. They're critical. This is not marketing to me. This is just standard operating procedures. These are just SOPs. Having email campaigns is a necessity. It is required to be able to convert. Yes, you can convert people without them, but it doesn't work as well. What I'm talking about is doing webinars, doing challenges, doing events, doing live streams, doing things that are bringing people from the outside to invite them into an event. People want to come to something to get to know you. That's why when you're dating, you ask people to go somewhere to do something with you. It's the same thing in marketing. Take them someplace to do something with them so they can get to know you, and then they'll start to make up their mind. It's the same concept. Now, when you're combating ad fatigue, you can do this by having different events. And if you want to really have fun with it, you can take the people who are engaging with your ads, you can put them into different custom audiences. Now you can start targeting those custom audiences based off their interaction. Let me give you an example. We really have about 3 different verticals. We have the CRM, the automation, we've got the website, funnel building, and then we've got selling leads. With those 3 different verticals, if I see that Bill out here is just constantly clicking every time I have something up about leads, I'm going to put him in a custom audience that's like high intent. Now, when I run a challenge on how to generate 1,000 leads for your business the first month, I'm going to be targeting, excuse me, I got all choked up talking about Bill. I'm going to be targeting Bill with this in this target audience. The target audiences will help you to split up your ads and get more exact and get more refined in your approach with it. But combat ad fatigue. Your ads are going to may work amazing up front, but every great ad goes away. Great example, Wendy's. I still think of this commercial from when I was a kid. It was the "Where's the Beef" commercial. It's no longer around, but it still resonates with me because I got tired of seeing these old ladies arguing about where's the beef. That's ad fatigue. It dominated. It killed it. It was such a great campaign that it still reminds me of my childhood. So think about that. When you're running ads, you're going to run into ad fatigue. It's something you're always going to have to keep updating. You're always going to have to try different ways, different methods to be able to make it work. Next, test multiple elements. Systematically test your images, test your headlines, test your call to actions, test your offers. This is just on the ad side. This is not getting into your landing page conversions, because right now we're just dealing on the traffic side, getting the leads to opt in so you can start closing them, or getting the leads to your landing page. But test different elements, try different images. Every platform has the ability to split test, run at least one split test. And again, as we were talking about split tests a couple of weeks ago, don't just split test the entire ad. If you try the entire ad that is completely different, you're not going to know the formula of what actually worked that's producing the results for you. So you want to systematically test different things. Test your images, test your headlines, test your call to action, test your offer. Then monitor your warning signal. Watch for dips in your CTR, and your CPL, to spot declining ad spends. Your cost per lead, your CTR. I don't even think that's one we've talked about yet, is it? No, it's actually your conversion ratio is your CTR. But you want to monitor the metrics that you set up at the beginning, because again, if you're not monitoring it, you're not going to know. All right, next, use automation to scale with less stress. These are some tips for making it easy, because I know all of you are like me. You're out there just hustling, making moves, making things happen, and your plate is more full than you can possibly imagine. So here's some ways that you can automate. First, auto budget rules. Scale up or pause campaigns automatically based on your return on ad spend thresholds, meaning that you can set your budget to cut off if you see that your cost per lead goes up too high. If you see that people are not clicking, your click-through rate, that's what your CTR is. Sorry, man, I had a brain fart there. If you see that your click-through rate is starting to get way too high, you can have you can have your auto budget go, oh, we need to pause this, or hey, this is doing really well. Once it hits like 10 cents per click, then let's scale it up from there. Next, split testing. Use platform experiments to continually optimize performance. You want to know a little secret when you're running ads on these ad platforms? If you see a little button that says beta or new, use it. You may not know what you're doing with it, but that's okay. Anytime a platform has a new feature, a new campaign, a new way of doing things, you want to use it, because what they're doing in that time is just like what we all do. They're spending more money, more time, more energy to make sure that this new product or this new feature is going to actually work the way that it should. And so what you'll find is if you get out there and start testing the new stuff that's coming through, you're going to get really good results, because they're going to be pushing it in front of more people, and it gets you more eyeballs and will work. But you want to be using your split testing. And then AI platforms. Leverage Profit Lifter AI for faster ad generation and optimization. That goes without saying. You guys saw it. You saw all the things that are on there. Let technology handle the heavy lifting to reduce decision fatigue and human error. I cannot, the way that AI has transformed how we do business is mind-boggling already. Like, we're just starting to see how all of this really is impacting us, impacting the way that we do business. When you're out there, use your AI. Like, this is exactly what AI is used for. Use your AI to do what you need to do and make it work. All right. I'm sorry, guys. I'm clicking buttons here and messing stuff up. Hold on just a second. Sorry, guys. 1 second. I'm almost done here. Okay. All right. Back at it. Optimize your funnel too. That's the next part. So we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but here are a couple good key points that you want to keep in mind. Speed optimization. Ensure that fast mobile load times on all landing pages. If you're in Profit Lifter speeds are good. They usually hang out right under the 1 second. Sometimes it may get up to about 1.5 seconds, but speed optimization is very good. When you get into speed optimization, there's several different things that you're going to be looking at when you get into speed optimization. And this can include like your image sizes. If your images are too big, it's going to take too long for it to load. If you've got JavaScript, if you've got embeds on your landing page, this is also going to slow down how fast your website loads. If you ever want to know why, okay, another rabbit trail. Sorry, guys. You guys are you're getting chatty, Keith, today. But if you ever want to know why I decided to build everything on the platform that we built it on, it's because having everything embedded into one platform just completely optimizes your speed. It optimizes how easy it is to add stuff, to add functionality, to add the images, to make sure that everything is running at peak performance. I've built in WordPress, I built funnels, I built all this stuff with all these different automations and Zapier and going through and connecting it this way and blah, 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 blah. Having it all in one platform reduces the amount of code that's in there. The less code there is in there, the better it optimizes. And WordPress is nefarious for this. They constantly have a bunch of just bloated code in there that makes your website slow down, makes your landing pages kind of buggy. But there are things that you could do on top of that, like using a CDN. CDN is what's called a cloud delivery network. So using CDNs like Cloudflare, places like that, will actually help you with that. Next, have a clear call to action. Make conversion paths obvious and compelling. Again, say it every time. If you're doing like a consultation, don't make it a consultation. Make it a giveaway. Make it something that they feel like they're going to leave with something with value, opposed to just having a conversation. And conversion-focused design. Remove distractions and guide visitors to convert. Simplicity sells. If people can see, if they get sidetracked, like my team was working on this landing page for us, and it was a great looking landing page. They put an image behind it, and they had a color overlay. And this image that they had behind it had a Christmas tree. And like immediately when I pulled it up, it was the first thing that caught my eye. I'm like, no Christmas trees. Like, we don't need that. It was distracting. It took away, the design took away from the conversation that was happening on the screen. You need to optimize your funnel. You want to make sure that you have a conversion focused design. When I'm looking and I'm trying to optimize a landing page or reviewing to make sure it's what I want, I take a step back and I look at it and I'm like, okay, when I look at this, where do my eyes immediately go? Are my eyes immediately drawn to the headline, the subtitle? Like, what am I looking at? If I scroll, I do what I call the scroll test. When I start scrolling, what are my eyes seeing? Because when somebody comes, their eyes are going to are going to get them to look at the thing that stands out the most. So when you're optimizing your funnel, make sure that you're using conversion focused design. Make sure that you're showing them exactly what you want them to see, clear call to action, and that everything's loading. Scaling ads without fixing your funnels equals wasted spend. Profit Lifter SnapOns make deploying new funnels fast and easy. That's what it's there for, guys. That's why we have the SnapOns. Next, monitor, measure, modify. Weekly performance reviews. Compare ad spend versus leads versus revenue. Again, this is your ROAS, return on ad spend. Compare how much you're spending versus how many leads you're getting versus how many you're closing, and monitor that weekly. Audience analysis. Identify which segments are performing the best. Creative evaluation. Detect which ads are declining in effectiveness. Do not assume that your ads are always going to work. Try different things. Play around with different images. Figure out which ones are declining. And look, if you guys need help with coming up with ad images, I've got a VA that I will introduce you to that is a rock star. He's not even, he's somebody I outsource my work to because he's amazing at it. Use different creatives. Figure out what's working. Your ads are going to decline. You need to keep an eye on that. Swift adjustments. Adjust quickly, but don't panic over short-term fluctuations. And this is especially true and when you get into the ad market. One thing to keep in mind is that when you get into ad markets are very much driven by the U.S. economy, meaning that when it's Christmas time, you are going to spend a ton on ads. Why? Because now you're competing with Walmart and Target and all these major billion-dollar corporations who are dumping a massive amount of money in for Black Friday. And so the cost for eyeballs, because there's only a limited amount of eyeballs that can see, so your costs for those eyeballs are going to go up. There are things that will always have adjustments in the market. When you go through election times, there's an adjustment, there's uncertainty. Anytime there's uncertainty in the US market, your ad costs are going to adjust accordingly. Don't freak out. Don't panic when there's fluctuations. But also, that's where your split testing is coming in. Because if you're running a split test, let's say you're running a split test in April, it's performing well. You know how both your campaigns are doing. You look in March and you see that both of them take a dip down. That means that that's something that doesn't necessarily need adjustment. That could very well just be a market fluctuation. So buying leads on the market and or buying traffic, buying eyeballs, it's a market. It has its ups and downs. It has its peaks and valleys, just like the stock market, just like everything else. You need to be aware of this and make adjustments quickly when you need to. But if you start to see overall fluctuations in your ad campaigns and your split test, like if they're both fluctuating at the same time, that more points to you that this is a market fluctuation, not necessarily something to do directly with your ads. The goal, a replicatable, repeatable system. So what you want to do is you want to scale strategically, increase budget to expand your reach methodically, the 20 to 30% rule. Don't go out there and just start double, triple, quadrupling your budget. Be strategic, make small incremental adjustments to your budget methodically and start to scale it based off that. Monitor your results, track your performance. This is one of the big keys. You cannot track it if you are not monitoring it. Optimize and repeat, make improvements and cycle through again. Identify winners, find campaigns with consistent performance, and then you repeat it again because now you have a winner. Now you start to scale strategically. You're monitoring the results. You're optimizing it. Now you still have a winner. It may be the same one. Your split test may have failed. That's okay. You know which one's better. You just did so dang good the first time that you don't need to split test it. That split test didn't work. That's cool. Dump more money into it. Start scaling it up again. Monitor the results. Optimize and repeat. You see, it's a continuous, repeatable cycle, and that's what you're looking for. All right. Final thoughts. We went about 15 minutes over. You guys have some great questions, some great feedback today. Really appreciate what you're talking about, what you're doing. Look at this, man. We love you, Keith. You're so blessed. Oh, thank you guys. You guys are awesome. I appreciate that you guys. I appreciate you guys being here and hanging out with us. Because that's why we do this, is to help you. If you're not here, I wouldn't be here. I'd still be sitting at the coffee shop with Brett, just yapping away. So final thoughts. First, scale what's proven. Only increase investments in campaigns with consistent results. If your campaign is fluctuating, if it's not giving you consistent, measurable results, it's not proven. It's on the path of being proven, but it's not proven. Next, protect profits. Implement systems and structures to maintain profitability as you grow. This is a fun one. We're going to jump off on another little rabbit trail. I love profit. I love Profit Lifter. I love making money. That's why we run businesses, is to generate revenue for our families, for our business. There is an amazing book called Profit First by Mark Malkovich. Highly recommend Mark Malkovich. This book changed the way that I look at business. My first real business that I had started, was it was a passion project. Like I had started a credit repair company right outside of the mortgage crash. I went to 4 different banks when I was in the mortgage industry, and all of them just crashed. And I'm like, you know what? I'm done with this. It's just terrible. So I started a credit repair company. I got so wrapped up into the passion side of what I was doing, helping consumers, helping people who are going through a recession to be able to keep their money, lower their or improve their credit, get credit line, all that. I loved it. I was having a lot of fun with that. But I was having so much fun, actually doing the work, that I wasn't protecting my profit. Profit Lifter is a different animal. We are aggressively doing profit payouts, meaning that we take monthly profit shares of what we're doing, and then we keep half of our profit for the month, and then we pay out the other half to all of the partners. And then so every month we've got half of our profit that we're using as our security, meaning that if, oh crap happens, now we've got that cushion there. And then quarterly, now we've got 3 months, we've got about a month and a half worth of profit that's sitting there quarterly. We pay that out halfly. We pay half of that every quarter. So every month we're getting half of our profit, and then every quarter we're taking half that profit as well. And the reason we do that is because now we know, as partners inside of the company, we know that we have a profit payout coming to us monthly. And so instead of getting, and what really opened up my eyes to this was sitting down with CPA, not with Profit Lifter, but with another one of our companies. And it was actually the credit repair company. Sitting down with them, and they're like, "Oh, you have X dollars in profit." I'm like, "I haven't seen a dime of this." Like, I'm making, like, I got my paycheck coming in, I'm covering my bills, and I have a little bit, but like it wasn't anywhere where the numbers were showing me. And so like we sat, so from there, that's what took me on this journey of looking like, how do I really do this? But find ways that you can monetize your business, you protect your profit. And to do this, implement systems and structures that maintain your profitability. Figure out what your profit margins are. Next, engineer growth. Don't chase random tactics. Build a methodical approach to scaling. I just mapped one out for you. It's good. And lastly, get expert help. Talk to us about Profit Lifter for professional guidance. You need help getting leads. You need help running ads. You need help building the systems that convert. That's what we're here for. We would love to help you out. You can find us online at profitlifter.com or give us a call at 877-661-1155. And until next week, you guys are all rock stars in my mind. And I hope you have just an amazingly prosperous week. And we will see you next time. Later.